So he felt like, he's been working way too long for way too many years, building houses, and, his boss is just, what's he doing? Like taking advantage of him, telling him to build one more house. He's looking forward to retirement, just putting down his toolbox, sitting down on a rocking chair and just relaxing. So he goes into the job site, he gets his tools, gets the wood, start building the house. The nails don't have to go in all the way, just finish whatever, doesn't really matter. If the floor is a bit squeaky, it's okay. If the corners aren't exactly even, it's okay. It's not a big deal, right? I just want to finish this job and move on. I'm looking forward to retirement. Finally, when he's done his job, he builds the house. He gives the key to his boss, says the house is finished. The boss gives him the key back and says, this is your retirement gift. What kind of house are we building? We're all here building a house. In our lives, we're building a house. What kind of house are we building? Are we building this kind of crooked house that, we're not really paying attention to detail, just, get through life, get through all this hard stuff so we can get to the fun stuff and enjoy life and all this stuff? Or are we really building a house worthy of the image of God that He created us on? The greatest story, they say, ever written, greatest short story ever written was the story of the two brothers, the story of the prodigal son. So the younger brother and the older brother. They both lived with their father in a big, nice house. They had lots of resources, lots of money. They had need or want for nothing. And then one day, as if out of nowhere, the younger son wakes up and tells his father, give me my share of the inheritance. Right? We all know the story, of course. And, where is this coming from? Are you mad at me? Did I do something to upset you? Especially in the eastern part of the world, this kind of question is unheard of. You don't ask your father for the inheritance while he's still alive. This is very insulting, very disrespectful. But his father honors his request, gives him whatever is his share, and tell him, Rabbana ma'ak, go and enjoy your life. But his father is there, he's waiting. And we know from the story, he stays there, waits for him all this time. But what is it that drives the younger son to do this? Did he just wake up one day and say, I don't want to live here anymore. I wish, I have all of this, but just not the father. Like I want to have all of it except for the father. Right? And that thought is it's strange. It doesn't make sense that it just popped into his head all of a sudden. It starts small, and it starts with all of us small, with maybe kind of like a restless attitude, like I'm bored with life. I'm not satisfied anymore. The stuff that used to bring me pleasure, that used to bring me satisfaction, it just doesn't do it for me anymore. You want to do more stuff, different stuff that gives you more pleasure and gives you more excitement. You chase adrenaline, you do, bungee jumping and stuff like that. I tried to do it. The Galabeya is not very aerodynamic. But anyways, you try to do all this new and exciting stuff and fun stuff, but it's coming out of this restless attitude, like I'm not satisfied with life anymore. Where has this satisfaction gone? Okay, I'm going to move this. So I'm not having as much fun as I used to. I don't find value in the stuff I used to do like I had before. And then from this kind of restless attitude, I start moving towards reckless living. I start not to be too careful anymore, with the kind of stuff I do or kind of things I say or people I hang out with, the activities I engage in. I'm not so careful anymore. I'm being reckless. I'm not as careful. Like things I wouldn't have done, I wouldn't even dreamed of doing a year or two ago. Now I don't even think about it. I don't even think twice. Yeah, for sure, let's go. Let's do this thing. It's not a problem. Just become reckless and you're not careful anymore. And then all of a sudden, you wake up one day and say, you know what? I figured out the problem. The problem is the rules. It must be. Everything in life is the same. And it's just so much fun without the rules. If only I can have everything in life, but without the rules, without the Father, without God. And he thinks to himself, how can I do this? Maybe if I can ask him for some money, but you know what? He's got so much money. Imagine if I can actually have all of that money, all of it for myself, but except with no rules. That would be the life. That would be the thing that would give me satisfaction, that would bring back what I lost. The satisfaction, the enjoyment, the feeling of being fulfilled and satisfied. So he goes to his father, give me my inheritance. You can't ask him, you can't dare to ask him for everything. Give me my inheritance. And he gives him his share of the inheritance, sets him on his way. The problem is, though, it was never of where this son was living or the activities he's doing. The prison, that lack of satisfaction he was feeling, it was kind of like a prison of his own making. He was living this life, but unable to enjoy or find satisfaction, contentment in anything he was doing. All the activities he was doing trapped him even more and more into this prison. He would try to do something, but it would feel less and less satisfactory, less and less pleasure coming out of it. They say there's this way of catching monkeys. Anybody ever try to catch a monkey? I'm not talking about like little kids, like actual monkeys. One of the ways of catching them is to put a jar with a small opening and put a banana in the jar. The monkey comes in when it's hungry and puts its hand in the jar, tries to take out the banana, but it can't. The opening is too small for the banana to come out. Now the monkey, you'd think, you know what, I tried it, pull it this way, pull it that way, nothing is working. I can't bring out the banana as long as I'm holding it, right? So, any rational being would say, okay, let go of the banana and I'll have my freedom. I'll go and I'll find food somewhere else. Except the monkey doesn't do that. The monkey doesn't let go of the banana. He keeps holding on to that banana until the hunter comes in, and the monkey's there. He's struggling. He's scared. But he can't let go. He's imprisoned in a prison he's making himself. I want us all to have this image in our mind. You are that monkey. I am that monkey that's holding on to this banana, and I'm unable to let go. And just everything is happening in my life, and nothing is making sense. Nothing is really giving me any satisfaction, but it's because I can't let go. This is the thing I want. This is the thing that's going to bring me satisfaction. All of this, he's there, and he's trying to figure out what's happening in his life. Although he has everything, but still he cannot find happiness. He cannot find joy. There was this story about this old king who had a brother. The brother betrayed the king, his brother, and took his kingdom. And he told him, I'll give you your kingdom back. I'll give you your kingdom back, and all you have to do is walk out of a room. Now the king had a problem with eating. He loved to eat all sorts of food. And he ate so much food that he gained so much weight. And his brother told him, if you can walk out of this room, you can have your kingdom back. The only thing is, the door was a little bit tight. And every day his brother would deliver to him the best kinds of food and the most delicious and his favorite kind of food. All you need to do is just not eat and walk out of the room. He never was able to do that. He was never able to. He was trapped in this prison he made for himself. And his brother, the younger brother, went on, not the king's brother, the prodigal son. The younger son went on, took his inheritance, and thought that away from the father, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy life, right? We all know the liturgy we're praying is the liturgy of Saint Basil. Saint Basil had a brother. His brother was Saint Gregory. He has a title, Saint Gregory of Nyssa. In one of the things he wrote, he talks about water. And he says water, it has no shape really. It takes the shape of whatever container it's in. You put it on the ground, it just kind of loses any sort of shape and it just spreads itself thin. But contain that water. Put it in into a pipe. And it could have such force, such power that it could propel you upwards. This is what we need. It's not this kind of freedom that is unlimited, unbound. This is the kind of freedom that really has no meaning, no direction, no sense, no taste. But when it has these boundaries, when it has these limits, these guides, all of a sudden it becomes something useful, something that can elevate rather than something that can corrupt. So the first thing the prodigal son does when he loses all the money, when he spends everything, is he realizes something is wrong here. I used to be happier actually in my father's house. But what happened? Why didn't this realization come earlier? Why couldn't he realize he was happy while he was in his father's house? Why couldn't he realize that he was happier before he spent all this money? While he's spending the money, and the older brother tells us he's spending all this money on prodigal living. While he's spending all this money on pleasurable things, he's intoxicated. He can't think straight. And that's what pleasure does for all of us. Pleasure is intoxicating. But pain is sobering. Pain is something you hardly can go to sleep from. It just awakes you, alerts you, makes you pay attention to everything around you. All of a sudden, the pleasure, when it's gone, all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, what am I doing? What's going on here? What's happening? We see so many examples in the Old Testament of how pleasure is truly intoxicating. We see someone like Samson. Samson in the Old Testament, the strong man that tore down the temple. This man was blind by this intoxicating pleasure. He was with this woman who kept betraying him, who kept insisting that he would tell her what is the source of his power. And he wouldn't. What is the source of your strength? And he wouldn't. He had a feeling that she's betraying him. So he would lie to her and tell her, some fake thing like, I don't know, they need to tie me with rope that's kind of wet, or do this thing or do that thing. And every time he would tell her something, made up, he would wake up, lo and behold, his enemies are doing that very thing that he just told Delilah. And then all of a sudden he comes to a realization that, you know what? She's betraying me. I know for sure she's betraying me. I tried it not once, twice, but 3 times. I know for sure she's betraying me. Now, any one of us, if a friend betrays you once, twice, 3 times, how many of us would trust that friend again? How many of us would trust not just a co-worker, anyone, after 3 times? You would wake up and say, you know what, something is wrong here. Maybe I shouldn't be so trusting. Maybe I shouldn't give her the secret. That's the source of my strength. But what does he do? He tells her at the 4th time, at her insistence, this is the secret. This is why I'm strong. And if you do this, my strength will go away. No rational person would ever do this. Why did he do this? And by the way, we all fall into this. Specifically because because pleasure is intoxicating. It just numbs your senses. You cannot think straight. So he realizes, the prodigal son, while he's living, this prodigal living, and then he spends everything, and he hit rock bottom, he realizes something is wrong. I used to be the son of the father. Now, I'm living among servants, among slaves, among pigs, and I'm not having any fun at all. The fun I thought, I wanted to go and have, it didn't happen. It didn't happen certainly the way I wanted it to happen. And then he has this moment where he says, okay, now I realize something is wrong, but that's not good enough. The book of James tells us, you look in the mirror and something is wrong, and then you walk away having done nothing. What did you gain? Let us not be hearers of the word, but doers of the word. So he wakes up, he gets up, he repents. He says, I have to repent. I have to go to my father and tell him, I have sinned against you and before heaven. And he goes and he repents. When he goes to his father, he doesn't just repent, he asks him for something. The first thing he asked for, he said, give me what? What did he ask for? Give me my inheritance. Now he's asking for something else. Make me as one of your hired servants. Make me. The first half he's asking, give me. This is the kind of entitlement that gets us all in trouble. Or we come to God asking us, make me. This is the kind of transformation that that Christ came and died on the cross for. Make me. Remake me back into your image. That give me stuff is not going to work. It's going to get us in trouble. Give me, give me, give me. It's not going to work. Make me as one of your hired servants. He returns, and there's a huge celebration. There's joy in the house, except for, of course, the older brother. And this is the crux of the story. This is what is really happening. This is what the gospel of today is telling us. I am the bread of life. He who eats me shall live forever. We take this and we look at it and we say, you know what? This is not good enough. I'm not satisfied with this. I want to go try this other bread over there, or that other bread over there. That's different bread. It's got different ingredients, maybe different things. Maybe that will satisfy me more. Maybe this will give me more fun, more pleasure. But then we go and we try, and then we come back and say, make me as one of your hired servants. And God accepts us all back like the Father did. He was standing there, and when he saw the Son coming back, he runs to him and takes him in his arms and accepts him back. I'm going to go back to that first story I told you. What kind of building are we building with our lives? This shabby building, with shortcuts everywhere? Or are we building something truly, truly worthy of the King to live in? Temples in our hearts for the Holy Spirit to dwell. We live in a world that every day seems like it's more and more divided. What is our role in this world? To kind of further push this division more and more and more? Or to go out there and begin to show the world that there's another way, there's a different way, there's love. I want to end with this story. Again, it's a story about a carpenter. I bought a book of stories about carpenters. So this week it's all carpenters. So these two brothers, again it's all brothers who very close, obviously grew up together, they loved each other, and they lived on these two farms next to each other. They worked together, they helped each other out, they shared resources, all sorts of things, and they lived in harmony. And then one day they had an argument. The argument escalated into a fight, and they stopped speaking for weeks. And then all of a sudden, the older brother one day gets a knock on his door, and he opens the door and sees a carpenter. And he says to him, "Do you have any work for me?" So the older brother says to him, "I actually have a job for you." He takes him out in his backyard and says, "There's a whole bunch of wood lying around. I want you to take all this wood and build me a fence between me and my brother's property so I never have to see him again. We used to have this creek running between us and all these tall trees, and he tore it all down, and I want these things back up, or at least a fence back up, so I never have to see him again." So the carpenter looked around and he said, "Okay, I think I understand the problem. I'll get to work." So the older brother goes on to the farm, works, comes back at the end of the day. He's expecting to see a very tall fence, but he looks and he sees nothing. Then he goes towards the other side and he sees that the carpenter has actually not built a fence, but built a bridge over the creek. So he's very angry with the farmer, with the carpenter. And then he sees from far his brother walking towards the bridge. So he's so angry, he picks up his step and walks towards the bridge. They meet in the middle of the bridge. They start, shouting at each other, and they start talking, they start laughing, and things get back to normal. And then after about like an hour of, this conversation happening on the bridge, they look back, and the older brother sees the carpenter packing up his stuff and about to leave. And he says to him, "You have done us a great favor. You have restored our relationship. Please don't go. I have so much more work for you to do around here." And he says, "I can't stay. I have many more bridges to build. Many more bridges to build." It's so easy to just look at what I am and where I am and the kind of resources that are available to me and say, like, it's all about me. But you're not here for me. None of us are here for me. Whatever place you're in, work, school, anywhere, on the street, you're there to build that bridge. So go and build that bridge. To Him be the glory forever and ever. Amen.